Before we get into this, if you care about old-world skills, forgotten wartime engineering, and techniques that actually work decades later, make sure you subscribe to Iron Age Instincts now, and share this with someone who values real historical knowledge. This channel exists for people who want substance, not surface-level trivia. During the Second World War, wood was everywhere. Barracks, bridges, crates, rifle stocks, trench supports, aircraft components, and entire temporary towns depended on timber surviving harsh environments. Steel was rationed. Concrete was slow. Wood had to last longer than anyone expected, often under mud, rain, snow, salt air, and constant abuse. What most people don't realize is that wartime engineers and field units relied on preservation methods that were brutally practical, cheap, and shockingly durable. Many of them still outperform modern off-the-shelf treatments when applied correctly. Let's get into 5 of them, starting with the ones you can still use today. You know, during wartime, the preservation of wood really mattered a whole lot more than how it looked. Military wood in the Second World War wasn't treated to look good, not at all. It was treated to survive just long enough to keep soldiers alive, and that was the only thing that counted. Rot meant collapse, plain and simple. Insects, well, they meant structural failure. And moisture? That brought mould, weakness and decay. The goal was straightforward. Drive water out, poison anything that eats wood, and seal the fibres so nothing could get back in. Everything you'll hear today follows those principles. And honestly, that's why these methods still work 50 years later when they're done properly. When failure simply wasn't an option, hot coal tar and pine pitch sealing was the go-to method. One of the most effective treatments from the Second World War was a heated mixture of coal tar or pine pitch applied directly to raw timber. This wasn't something you just brushed on cold like modern sealants. No, it needed to be hot to do the job right. The wood was warmed first, sometimes over open fires, then the hot tar or pitch was applied so it penetrated deep into the grain. Once cooled, it formed a water-impermeable barrier that fungi and insects couldn't tolerate. You can still apply this today by gently heating pine tar or a pine pitch blend and brushing it onto dry, warmed wood. Fence posts, cabin footings, dock planks and outdoor beams benefit enormously from this treatment. Focus especially on end grain, which is where rot usually begins. WWII engineers knew that sealing the ends mattered more than the faces, and that lesson still holds. Creosote pressure soaking was, well, really the gold standard for ground contact. Now, creosote-treated wood might have a bit of a reputation today, but back during the Second World War it was considered absolutely essential for anything that touched the soil. Rail ties, bridge supports, telegraph poles and trench reinforcements were all soaked or pressure-treated with creosote because, honestly, it killed fungi, insects and bacteria right on contact. Field units that didn't have pressure equipment would, dig shallow pits, fill them with heated creosote, and soak timber ends for hours or sometimes even days. That partial treatment alone, believe it or not, dramatically extended the service life. So if you're restoring historical structures, or maybe working on remote builds, soaking just the lower third of posts in creosote substitute oils can still prevent decades of rot. The key is deep saturation, not just a surface coating, you know. Boiled linseed oil with mineral spirits was actually used to feed the wood, not just coat it. Contrary to modern misuse, boiled linseed oil in World War II wasn't slathered on thick at all. Instead, it was thinned with mineral spirits so it could really penetrate deeply. The oil would polymerize inside the wood fibers, strengthening them while also repelling moisture. This method was pretty common for tool handles, rifle stocks, crates, and interior structural wood, just to name a few examples. Applied correctly today, this means, well, multiple thin applications over several days, allowing full absorption each time. When used on beams in sheds or barns, it dramatically slows moisture cycling, which is what causes cracking and decay. WWII armourers understood that wood preserved from the inside lasts far longer than wood sealed only on the surface. Charring wood surfaces created a natural rot barrier. Known in Europe long before WWII, controlled charring was widely used in the war due to material shortages. By lightly burning the surface of posts and beams, engineers created a carbon layer that resisted insects, moisture, and fungal growth. This wasn't deep burning. It was a controlled blackening followed by brushing and sealing. You can still do this today for fence posts or garden structures. Char the surface evenly, brush off loose carbon, then seal with oil or tar. World War II field manuals noted that charred posts lasted significantly longer in wet soil than untreated ones, even without chemical preservatives. Salt and copper compounds were improvised preservatives in the field. When supplies ran out, field engineers turned to chemistry. Copper sulfate, zinc chloride, and even concentrated salt solutions were used to soak wood, making it toxic to rot organisms. While less durable than creosote, these treatments extended service life long enough to matter. For modern application, copper-based wood preservatives still rely on the same principle. Soaking vulnerable sections of wood before installation remains, honestly, one of the most effective low-tech defenses against rot. Why these methods still outperform modern shortcuts? Modern treatments often focus on speed and appearance. WWII methods focused on penetration, toxicity to organisms, and moisture exclusion. When you combine those three principles, wood doesn't rot easily, even after half a century. The reason these techniques endure is because, well, biology hasn't changed. Fungi still need moisture. Insects still avoid toxins. Water still enters through end grain first. If you apply even one of these methods properly, you'll outperform untreated lumber by decades. Combine 2 or 3 and you're working at wartime engineering levels. If this kind of deep, practical history matters to you, subscribe to Iron Age Instincts. Share this video with someone who builds, restores, or studies the past seriously, and keep these techniques alive. Knowledge like this only survives if it's passed on.